Welcome to the second annual Jeanlys-White Endowed Fund for Financial Wellness program, Let's Talk Money, taking the lead on your financial wellness. I am thrilled to have this group gathered from across the Villanova community, students, faculty and staff, athletes, researchers, alumni, friends, all coming together to talk about something that is critical to our well-being and success, and therefore our leadership development. This is a topic that is close to my own heart, but to that of many others as well. Allow me to introduce Irina Getchis-McCarthy. Irina is an experienced principal at Deloitte & Touche, bringing with her a proven track record in management consulting industry. Beyond her professional achievements, she also embraces the role of dedicated mother to a Villanova student, Julia McCarthy. 2 years ago, Irina and her husband, Mike, approached me to discuss their passion for creating an event centered on educating and empowering women in financial wellness and literacy. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Irina and Mike for their generous support, which has made tonight's event possible. Now, let's warmly welcome Irina to share a few words about the significance of this event for her.
Hi, everyone. I'm honored to provide a few remarks for the opening of this event for the second time. Many thanks to Villanova and the McNulty Institute for planning this event, which is sponsored, as we said, by the Jeanlys-White Endowed Fund for Financial Wellness. Jeanlys-White was my mom. She passed away in 1996, and this endowed fund helps me to fulfill my dream to honor her memory. Through her example, my mother installed in me her passion for women to understand financial matters and be independent in their thinking. I'm joined this evening, I'm going to embarrass Julie again, our daughter who's a senior, but also all of her friends that we've seen their journey for 4 years at Villanova. They're all seniors and they're all graduating, so financial wellness is even going to be more important for them. Julie and her friends represent a cross-section: aspiring engineers, businesswomen, dentists, lawyers, and psychologists, as many of us are, all in need of understanding the basics of financial wellness. In addition, I'm joined by my husband, Mike McCarthy. You may be asking, who was Jeanlys-White? You won't find her on LinkedIn, won't find her on Facebook. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my mom. She, along with my dad, were World War II refugees from Lithuania who fled their home due to Soviet occupation. She became a registered nurse and worked in a hospital in Dayton, Ohio. My dad was an auto mechanic. She did not have a formal education in finance, but she did have a vision to thrive in America, raising her 4 children. What did she instill in us? She had 3 daughters, including me, and 1 son. The value of saving for things you want, not buying too many things on credit, although sometimes, preparing financially for unseen challenges, most importantly, to know your finances and independently manage money as part of a partnership. Now for a little story to connect my mom to my passion for the world of finance. When I was about 12 years old, my dad, who worked for Ford Motor Company, decided he wanted to open a small business, a gas station. And he leased it from Shell Oil Company. It was truly a family business. As that family business, everyone has duties. My mom was the primary accountant, and I was her assistant. My mom took the finance courses offered by Shell Oil Company, teaching her how to operate the small business, track budgets, count cash, make payroll, deposit cash to the bank. I was not only enthralled, but I was hooked in finance then. I remember all those evenings at the kitchen table, reconciling credit card receipts to daily sales, preparing deposit slips for cash receipts, issuing payments, and yes, ordering inventory, thousands of gallons of gas. These tasks were the foundation that my mother taught me to understand the basics of business and life. Income needs to exceed expenses to survive. You need to manage these expenses so you have excess income to spend for the treats that you want. And excess income always needs to be saved for a rainy day. It was that 12-year-old self I started to save for a bicycle that I wanted. Then it became leasing an apartment when I got a job in New York, buying a car, getting married, saving for a home, and yes, ultimately preparing for a child, a 529 account, which is funding Villanova, and saving for my retirement and my husband's with a 401k. Those early discussions formed the foundation and inspiration for me to enter the world of finance, which I did. And I think and then the other passion is mentoring women. That includes financial literacy toward a path toward financial wellness. Financial literacy may not be the most trending topic, but it's a necessity. When Gabriella Hill approached my husband and I about the work of the McNulty Institute, I was thrilled to support this. I knew this program would have a special place in my heart. As you can tell, I still sometimes well up when I say her name. Together with the help of our keynote speaker and panelists, I can't wait to hear them, we're going to break the taboo of talking about financial decisions. Thank you so much for allowing me to tell my story and my mom's. I appreciate it, and let's continue the learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. The support from this endowment means that this program can persist in perpetuity. In true Villanova fashion, this work is being done by a collaborative committee with representation from the Villanova Alumni Association and the Villanova Career Center, along with the Institute. The expertise and connections across these groups is what will guarantee our success in meeting the McCarthy's goals for their gift. I offer special thanks to the members of the committee who worked to make tonight happen, especially those working behind the scenes on the logistics, including Molly McLaughlin, Dana Jacob, and Ingrid Lees. Financial wellness is a topic we consistently hear connected to leadership development and gender issues. Money is a powerful force in our culture. It can be overwhelming and scary, and we constantly have to sort through information and recommendations to know what is good or bad advice, what is a true story, and what is a myth. And yet, we are also taught, don't talk about it. Throughout our lives, we are constantly faced with opportunities and choices regarding our finances. We have all heard stories of fear and anxiety about those choices, but that's not why we're here tonight. We're here to be empowered. We're here to begin, or to continue, to talk about ways that we can take the lead in our own financial wellness and have a firm foundation for our well-being and success. As a quick preview, our keynote speaker, Mical Jeanlys-White, and conversants Emily Wood, Shannon Kariuki, and Marissa Schrod will share their expertise and advice on these elements and more, so stay tuned. And a quick note, on your tables is a QR code which links to resources that we may be referring to during tonight's program. It includes a glossary of terms which you might find of assistance in some of your conversations or in listening to our speakers this evening. So it is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Mical Jeanlys-White. She is founder and CEO of WealthMore, a wealth tech focused on closing the wealth gap by making expert advisors accessible and affordable to all. With over 20 years of financial services experience, Mical has held senior executive positions at JP Morgan Chase, American Express, Nestle, and Accenture. After more than 2 successful decades in financial services, most recently as managing director at JP Morgan Chase, she left to launch WealthMore. Founding WealthMore was deeply personal. Mical may share elements of her story when she talks to us this evening, some of which has some similar elements to the experiences of Eugenia Getchus. The importance of financial wellness obviously crosses all communities and experiences. As an advocate of financial inclusion, literacy, and empowerment, Mical has built and launched products designed to make our financial system work better for everyone. Mical is a staunch supporter of female and diverse founders. She is a passionate advocate of making more capital available to diverse founders, and Mical is also an advocate for our public education system and serves on the board of Catalyst for Educational Change. Mical holds an MBA from Columbia University's Graduate School of Business and an undergraduate degree from Villanova University. She lives in Swarthmore, PA, so she's local too, with her husband and 3 sons. And when she's not busy building her company, she can be found enjoying Kiowa Island, South Carolina, with her family and friends. Please welcome Mical.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. I am a proud Villanova alum, a former Wall Street exec, and of course, the proud founder of a wealth tech. But my journey and love for finance started right here at Villanova, right? At the business school, which back then was known as CNF. And it is from there that I then went on to get a B school, a graduate degree at Columbia, but spent 20 years on Wall Street learning about people and their money. During my time on Wall Street, I managed a $22 billion credit card portfolio, built JP Morgan's Buy Now, Pay Later platform, My Chase Plan, and had access to the data of 60 million US households. I saw how you guys manage your money, how it comes in, how quickly it goes out for some of you guys. I saw how you bought homes, how you paid for those homes, how you used credit cards, maybe used them a little too much, how you got car loans, and how you invested. And I can tell you with utter certainty that building wealth is a lifestyle. And it is a lifestyle that you cannot afford to opt out of. It is no different than being a foodie. Who's a foodie in the room? I know you foodies. Very picky. Who loves to travel? Okay. Who's got bucket list? You guys can tell me the best places to go to. Some of you have figured out how many vacation days you have and have nailed it down to how many days can I take off around Thanksgiving, around Christmas to optimize. I know it. I've been to 37 different countries, love to travel. Some of you are fitness buffs. You have your Apple Watch on, you keep track of all your steps, your water, you know when you have a cardio day versus a strength building day, right? It's a lifestyle. And I can tell you with certainty that if you want to do well financially, being a wealth builder is also a lifestyle. But what does it take to build a lifestyle? There are 3 major pillars: education, commitment, and community. I'm going to start with education. For those of you that are foodies, I can ask you guys for the best restaurant in Philly, and you'll give me 5 different picks. You'll tell me the latest in food trends, and vegan, and this, and that, and where to go. If I say the same thing about travel, you'll tell me exactly where I can go, how much it's going to cost me, when to go, when not to go. Same with health. And you guys have to invest that same energy into being financially educated. And I say this to you because no one is coming to save you. Because we did away with pensions, and I'll get to that. So no one is coming to save you. So you must invest the time and energy to understand how to build a sound budget, how to budget for your investing, how to think about your retirement plans, how to understand the stock market, how it works, how not to be a retail dumb money investor. The onus is on you to put that same great amount of energy and to not be intimidated and to be proud about someone who's building a lifestyle around wealth. Commitment. This one's important, and I really want to talk to younger investors about commitment, because you guys have a harder hill to climb. My team was at the PA Conference for Women last year, and one of the young attendees came up to us, and she was like, I have all the best of intentions, but then I get on TikTok and IG and Facebook and those ads, oh my God, those ads. And then I whip out my credit card, swipe. I don't even need to whip it out because the app already stored the information, right? I know. I was just like, how bad is it? Oh, I hear yes. So she asked us to actually do a podcast episode about consumerism. It was shocking when we went and did the research. You guys are seeing between 4,000 to 10,000 ads a day. I want that to sink in. You are seeing between 4,000 to 10,000 ads a day. So then we wanted to find out, well, how many ads did previous generations see? You guys are seeing 10 to 15x the amount of ads. So when you find yourself falling for it, the algorithm is quite deliberate. So I want you guys to be aware of that. So if that means turning off the ads, not going in the app, and I see it myself. If I pause for 2 seconds on the ad, I'm gonna get 50 face creams, hairstyling, foundation, Skims, like it's nonstop. So I know you guys are having this sort of unprecedented bombardment of consumerism. And it's not just the ads. We then did the research around, well, all of these ads, how much impulse buying is it turning into? The ads are quite effective. You guys are spending anywhere between $150 to $300 a month on impulse purchases. Things that were never in that budget we talked about. Things that you didn't know you needed. And when asked about it, most of you guys regret those purchases. So now let's take it another leap forward. If I were to take half of that impulse spend and have you invest it, over time, you're looking at easily $500,000. So if you need a little incentive to turn the ads off, or reject them, you reject a few, you'll notice the feed goes down dramatically. Take the time to do that. But I also want to talk to you about commitment from the perspective of loud budgeting. Who's familiar with loud budgeting? Yes. I love loud budgeting. Because when I said, who's a foodie, all the hands went up. When I said, who's a world traveler, all the hands went up. When I said, who's a fitness buff, all the hands went up. But when I say, who's a wealthy, where are the hands? Who's a wealth builder? I want you guys to be loud and proud. I want you to tell your friends, hey, you know what? I love Beyonce, but Cowboy Carter, I'm out. Ooh, hey, Hive, don't come for me. But it is part of that. And whatever it is for you that you need to say no to, be okay with it. You will be amazed And how many people are also working towards a goal, but they don't feel comfortable sharing it? Because we haven't normalized talking about money. We haven't normalized being proud about, hey, I have a financial goal I'm working towards, and I can't go to your bachelorette party. All of which nowadays seem to be destinations. Ouch. But it is okay to say, I'm working towards a goal. And you will find like-minded people. I guarantee you, you will find like-minded people just by stating that goal. And that leads me to another important part, community. I was lucky. My grandmother was a super saver, not by choice. She was a young widow, and she found herself raising 8 children on her own. Her situation was a sink or swim. She had to swim quickly. But she embraced it. She was a super saver. She became our family's unofficial financial advisor, preaching the benefit of savings, scrutinizing every dollar her grandchildren spent money on. My sister still has like a traumatic story about a $70 pair of jeans that she got like a, 4-hour lecture about. Right? But it created this generation and multiple generations in our family of savers, homeowners, real estate investors. But we were not investors. She was deadly afraid of the stock market. But I'm not. So that legacy goes on. We build upon that. We create stronger communities. And if you're still not sold on the power of community, you guys can see a trend. I'd like to bring you some facts. Here's one. Any goal that you have, if you share it with one other person, it can be your roommate, parent, friend, neighbor, male person, anyone in your life, you will have a 65% chance of being successful. Those are pretty good odds. But it gets better. If you have a regular check-in with the person, let's call them your accountability buddy now, it shoots up 95%. That's like guaranteed success. That is the power of surrounding yourself with a community of wealth builders. And I know you guys can relate to this because for those of you who are world travelers, you hit those bucket lists because you have other friends willing to get on the road with you. Those of you who have a fitness buddy, you probably work out more because you've made a commitment to go to the gym today. So I know it works, but it will also work for you as you build your wealth journey. I need to talk to ladies here because it's super important for us. We make 82 cents to the dollar. If you're a Black woman, 67 cents to the dollar. If you're a Latino woman, goes down to 58 to 62 cents to the dollar. Over time, 40-year career, you may say, oh, 13 cents, doesn't sound so bad, right? It's pretty bad. You will miss out on $400,000 to $1.2 million in wealth creation. I had a junior sitting next to me at the table. Negotiate your salaries, ladies. I managed teams of like 300 people. I made offers all the time. Women did not come back and negotiate. Women did not come back and negotiate. I need you guys to stop that. When you are getting your year-end review and you're negotiating your bonus or blah, blah, blah at the end of the year, please negotiate it. There's always room. I have inherited teams where the delta between two high performers, male, female, I have seen deltas as big as $200,000. I would go to HR to fight, and they would say, we can do this, but it's going to take time. We don't have time. You're doing the job. Why should your male peer be making $200,000 more than you? Because you didn't negotiate up front. You didn't negotiate year after year during those performance reviews. Please negotiate. No one will be mad at you. I was never mad at any of the guys who came back and negotiated. Promise you I wasn't. Please negotiate. The good news is we're living 5 to 8 years longer, which is awesome. But we're more likely to enter into our retirements suffering poverty. And I want you guys to see sort of like the domino effect, right? You're not getting paid as much, so you don't have as much to put into retirement, so you don't have as much to invest, and then you're sort of stuck in this ugly paradigm. But the good news is we are really good investors. Again, I've seen the data. We are informed, we buy, and we hold. When the market gets all volatile, women stand by their investment strategy because you made informed decisions. So we just need more women investing and doing it consistently and routinely and building these awesome communities like what you guys are doing tonight so that you build that amazing lifestyle around building wealth and being financially independent. I'm going to go back. I mentioned pensions earlier. Our generation has been asked to be both the patient and the doctor. Now, what do I mean by that? Your grandparents likely had something called a pension. It's like having an awesome parachute. We don't have that. So we have to own our financial destinies. When pensions existed, professional money managers ensured that when you got to 65, you would have the means to retire, ideally comfortably. We replaced that with 401k plans, Roth IRAs, other retirement funds. But the vast majority of you guys are not taking your company match. Please take the company match. It is literally part of your compensation. But all too often when we meet with clients, they didn't know their firm had a 401k. They haven't been doing the match, and they've been there 5, 6, 7 years. Or the ones who are doing the 401k, they went in the app, the intranet, they made the selection, but they didn't go back in and actually invest the money. Vanguard did a study of this. They found that on average, the money went uninvested for 7 years. Again, we weren't meant to be the patient and the doctor, so we don't know these things. We assume when we put it in, it was being automatically invested, but it wasn't. So we have to spend a little more time educating ourselves. We have to be like a foodie. We have to stay on top of it. We have to know what to do and have fun with it. That's where the community part comes in, because we're all doing it. So we'll share tips, right? Your foodie friends send you a tip. Your wealthy friends are going to do the same. They're going to make sure. When the rates were super low, I was calling every one of my family members. I'm like, you are refinancing, aren't you? That's the benefit of that community. And the advice really does matter. So just like I've given you guys some other numbers, this patient-doctor dynamic has 70% of Americans without a financial advisor. 37 million are like many of you in this room. You're college-educated, upwardly mobile. You are the American dream. You are supposed to build wealth. But yet, you still can't get access to a wealth advisor because the requirement is $500,000, $2 million to even open an account to have access to a wealth advisor. And what is being left out? What's the cost of being left out? The folks who have a wealth advisor will grow 2, and some studies even show 3 times more wealth. That's why I started WealthMore. I couldn't believe this number. I couldn't believe how Americans had been sold a bad bill of goods, that you could DIY your way into it, and it's simply not true. So just like as a foodie, a health nut, a travel lover, you invest in those things. I want you guys to invest in getting good advice. That advice is going to help you manage retirement planning. There's so much tax code that benefits us. Most of us don't know it. It's going to help you with estate planning. It's going to help you transfer money in smart ways so that after you've worked so hard and accumulated your wealth, you're not giving the lion's share of it to Uncle Sam, but you have to make the investment. And there are more platforms out there that are making this far more accessible, but we're not talking about loose change here. This is real money. So I want to leave you guys with a few key thoughts. Building wealth is a lifestyle, one that you should not opt out of. It's a really good lifestyle. I guarantee you, it's fun. It's actually good to go to bed and not worry about money. I want that for all of you. 2, it's better together. Build a community, make a friend in here. It'll be so much more fun. And you'll realize just how organic it becomes. Talking about the stock market, talking about investing. I have 3 boys, they are all investors. They come home and they talk about what happened to my NVIDIA stock. Everybody owns NVIDIA, I know. But they have 50 years of investing ahead of them. You guys will be amazed at how easy it is once you start doing it. My 9-year-old has an investing account. He proudly comes home and says, I'm the only one in my grade that invests. Normalize it. You'd be amazed. I was amazed at how easy it was to even teach youngins, at least the basics, to get them going. So I know you guys are far better equipped to do really well here. 3rd, get the wealth advice you deserve. It will do you well. Find someone you trust, get quality advice. It will have an exponential impact on your wealth building. And lastly, and my favorite message to you all, this wealth business, this wealth life, it is for us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mical. That was just so many things. I kept wanting to write things down, but a lot of my takeaways, and I love this idea of building community and support around your goals, stating your goals, and holding each other accountable, all require you adhere to our theme for tonight, which is talking money, right? It's talking about this. And so now we're going to model that in a way and, creating that kind of community that we have. So we're going to have a keynote conversation with Emily Grimes-Wood, Shannon Kariuki, and Marissa Schrod. So I'll introduce them, and if you want to come on up, you can sit in your nice comfy seats, and they're going to help us with that whole idea that Mical spoke with us about, and that's how we hold each other accountable, but in that way of just having a nice, easy conversation, which is not something we're maybe used to, but can be easy. So first is Emily Wood. Emily graduated from Villanova with a BS in Business Management and a minor in English prior to joining Grimes & Company in 2002. Emily worked as a consultant at Accenture and a financial advisor at UPS in Boston. Emily earned her CFP designation in 2004, and she's an active member of the Financial Planning Association and the Boston Estate Planning Council. Emily also serves as the treasurer of the New England Botanical Garden at Tower Hill, where she is also a member of the investment committee and a trustee. She sits on the investment committee of the Worcester Art Museum, and Emily is a member of the advisory council and steering committee for the McNulty Institute for Women's Leadership at Villanova. She's also on the board of the Nantucket Partnerships for Children. Emily lives in Sudbury with her husband and 2 children and 2 dogs, and when she's not working, she enjoys traveling with her family, watching her kids play sports, and time with family and friends. Welcome, Emily. Next, we have Shannon Kariuki. Shannon is a part-time graduate student at Villanova University, pursuing a master's in software engineering while working full-time as an API development manager at ACR. A proud Kenyan, she is passionate about STEM and personal finance, with a special focus on empowering women to improve their financial literacy and build long-term wealth. On campus, Shannon is a Lorenzini Leadership Ambassador at the McNulty Institute for Women's Leadership. Outside of work and academics, Shannon enjoys SoulCycle and capturing moments through film and photography. Welcome, Shannon. And last but certainly not least, we have Marissa Schrad. She's a junior at the Villanova School of Business, majoring in accounting and business analytics with a minor in international business. Marissa also serves as a Lorenzini Leadership Ambassador at the McNulty Institute. In addition to that role, she is involved in Women in Business, the campus activities team, and is also a peer tutor and advisor. Emily, Shannon, and Marissa have joined us to model our theme of breaking the taboo and talking money, so let's hear it.
My background, as stated in my bio, I'm a proud Kenyan, and I came here to the U.S. as an international student to pursue my undergrad here at Villanova in 2016. In terms of my background and how it influenced my relationship with money, my grandparents are tea farmers back in Kenya, and my dad helped to run it as a treasurer of an informal cooperative that brought together tea farmers together to raise money. And it's a very common thing in African societies. In Kenya, we call it a chama. In other African societies, like in West Africa, it's called a susu. If you've read the book Ikigai, they talk about a similar collective financial group where you have either family members or you have a similar interest, and you collect money and then you pass it on to the next to one person once a month, and then it goes on and on. And I've been raised with the idea that money is a collective resource. So if I have some, if I eat, we're all gonna eat. And also just being an immigrant in this country, once I got access to the American dollar, it was I knew I had a responsibility to take care of myself, but also think about the people back in my home country. So what Mical talked about having the having community as a resource. I just grew up knowing that money is a collective resource, and if some of you in this room may know about the term Black tax, which is just like tax that is put that Black people or people from other minority groups have, where again, there's an expectation that you give what you have. It's a tax, but I can also see it as a blessing to be able to take care of the people that you love. And at the same time, thinking about boundaries, like I need to have my oxygen mask on before I can, save other people. So there's been a lot of discourse online about how do you set proper boundaries when there's an expectation for you to think about money as a collective resource. And in line with that, talking point about money as a collective resource, I'm just wondering how you have been able, like for the people, for Emily and for Marissa. Emily, you work in different boards and community organizations, and Marissa, you're the president of the Women in Accounting, or the Women in Business. How do you think about like giving back and while at the same time building your own financial foundation?
I think that a lot of us usually wait until we've like accomplished something or we've done something for long enough before we want to like talk about it or give back. And so I am on a number of boards and investment committees, but that's helpful, right? It's helpful to a nonprofit, but I think really having conversations like more commonly is more important. So here's an example. I just hired a brand new advisor, and we were chatting in my office, and she was telling me how she was her sorority treasurer, University of Colorado, so not Villanova, but she's still cool. But she was saying that when it was time to collect dues, some of the girls would get nervous and anxious about writing the check, and then she'd have deeper conversations with them about like, oh, well, what are you doing this weekend and how are you budgeting for that? And so she ended up having office hours as a treasurer, and girls would go to her with their student loans, and girls would go to her with these questions. And when I tell you, I mean, she's very bright, I think, but she didn't know. She's their peer, and she spent this time, and she like brought herself up to speed to do this office hour tradition that now her sorority at University of Colorado still does, and I think that's awesome. I've also volunteered at like my kids' schools doing the stock market game, which is a lot of fun. Mical, again, I think you can explain the stock market to 9-year-olds and how to save. And I think it's really just important that we destigmatize this. And if you have a question about money, everybody else has a question about money. I was just on a girls' trip with my Villanova besties, and we had like a 15-minute conversation. I mean, it was over margaritas, but that's okay, about 529s and saving for college and how much, and then how do you know when to spend it, and should you use it more in the first year or the later years? And it's just, we all have these questions, and I think we have to share, and I think that you can give back by just talking to your friend, talking to your classmate. You don't have to be a board member, you don't have to be old with lots of experience to have something really interesting to say or to share.
I definitely don't have the experience that Emily does, but when working with women in business, one thing that we really try to emphasize is bringing women up to speed that we feel like a lot of their male colleagues already have. So one thing that we have implemented is including golf lessons at a local golf course, and that has been really helpful for a lot of women to kind of break that barrier of how men can sometimes form these circles outside of work, and then these personal connections then lead to furtherments down the line. And that's something that we definitely want to work to address and have been really working hard at. And our former advisor for women in business is in the room tonight, and she's really helped us lead the way along that. And it's been something that has really impacted my college career, but also we've heard a lot from different freshmen, and a sophomore came up to us at the last event saying how when she was in her interview, and she was with another boy in it, and she was talking with their interviewer about golf, and she was like, I had something to say because I had done this lesson. And so things like that that allow those barriers to start getting broken down, which is what we're aiming to do. So with that, I would kind of love to hear from Emily and Shannon if you guys have any advice for women that are entering into their career and how to help themselves maybe break down those barriers.
Um, I'm like 5 years into, this is going to be my 5th year, and I can't believe it because I feel like I just graduated. But I think we can give ourselves some grace because of 2020 was just a blip, and I have some extra time. In terms of figuring out how to handle money in my early career, I've done a lot of self-education, and there are a lot of nuances that I had to learn, being like a non-citizen. There's a lot I had to like learn through like baptism by fire. Like when I was a student here, I didn't know that your dental insurance is not part of your medical insurance. And at one time I had a really like high dental bill. There's another time I didn't, I like I got sick and I didn't know that calling an ambulance would cost me like $1,000. So there's a lot just learning through experiences and through also just doing a lot of self-education. There's a lot of good material that I got. There's a lot of good podcasts. I try to educate myself on personal finance, read books, attend events, network with people. And I'll definitely take what Mical said about negotiating because I definitely think I'm leaving some money at the table. So there's a lot I still need to learn. And just being in this room with like-minded women is like a good start to continue learning. Sorry, I do have a blog. Because I was learning a lot about personal finance, I started a blog called Her Money Mondays, and we were talking with Emily about how I set a high bar because I'm supposed to be posting a post every Monday, and it's a bit dormant now because but I'm gonna get back to it. Because I was learning a lot of new things, I decided to also teach. I believe in the concept like each one teach one. So whatever you know, you can share it with other people. I've written blogs about how to get your first credit card as an international student, how to open up a Roth IRA. I found out I couldn't open up an account with Vanguard, but for some reason I could open it up with Fidelity. So as a non-citizen, just nuances like that. I find where your niche is, and if you know something, you can teach someone, and if you're looking for some information, someone has that information, and you can go out there and find it. Thank you for reminding me about my blog.
I went back and read a lot of them. It was great. But I did tell her, I was like, Monday, that's a tough day for a blog entry. So I guess I would say have confidence in yourself. I know my first job was at what was then Anderson Consulting, and I got promoted after a year, and I had like 2 people to manage. And I literally didn't think I knew what I was doing. And it made me a pretty bad manager, actually. But I've grown since then, but I think, having confidence, but also asking questions. There's times when you're just surrounded by so many really smart people, or even people who maybe would do something differently than you. And I think asking like, well, oh, what made you take that approach? Or, hey, I'm working on this client situation and I'm kind of running into a roadblock here. Like, what would you do? And so I think wherever you are, building like a collaborative environment where you're not scared to ask questions and take up someone's time. But then in turn, you have to be really generous with your own time. So I try very hard for a lot of the junior people in my office to go to lunch, or, put a half hour on their calendar and see how things are doing and ask like, hey, do you want to sit in on a client meeting with me? Or I'm doing this presentation. Can I give you this section and do you want to work on it? And it's a great way to get some helping hands, but also just to, again, start this conversation for people who you might not be working with all the time. So that is one thing I would say, find a mentor. Even if you don't work at a large company that has like a formal mentoring program, find your own, find someone who's generous with their time, who knows what they're doing, and who likes to share and who can get you involved, because you will really learn more from the village. Also, an office setting should not be a competitive place. Again, collaborative. I feel like a lot of people sometimes come into a setting, maybe they're with some peers, and they it's cutthroat and they want to be the best. I mean, if you're not working at an investment bank, that's probably not the culture that your employer wants. So ask questions, find your people, be generous with your time, ask others for their time, I think would be probably some of my biggest suggestions.
Thank you for sharing that. It's really helpful to hear about. I have a question that I feel like a lot of college students struggle with is picking out what credit card works for you. It seems like there's so many on the market, and I was wondering if you have any tips on maybe what to look for and what you'd recommend for someone starting out.
I yeah, I do have a blog on that about getting yeah, about getting your first credit card, especially as an international student. I didn't have any credit history. I didn't have like family to build credit history on them, from them. And like when I was a junior here and I was interning at SAP, I found out about like Discover and their secured credit card. So it acts like a debit card. So if you don't have any credit history, you can just, I paid like a deposit of $200 and then I got the credit card. And then I think after a year, I got back my deposit and then it became an official credit card. So there are ways of being able to like, start building credit history. And I remember I did share this with another friend, and she created a credit card, but she did not pay her bills on time. So I was like, oops. Like, also, when you are, having a credit card, make sure you're paying your bill on time and not getting interest, and it doesn't become like a thing that is bad for your financial state.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, is to pay your bill on time, definitely. But you can go online to like Experian or TransUnion or Equifax. Those are the three major credit reporting agencies, and they will have little searches. And so it will just depend like what you're looking for. But I would say certainly look for the lowest annual percentage rate. That's just the percentage you pay on any balance that you carry. And then also look for what the maximum credit they'll allow you. It's going to be based on your income. So right out of school, it won't be that high, and that's probably not a bad thing. If you do have lower credit or other extenuating circumstances, like Shannon said, some of those secured credit cards are the way to go. But definitely, people talk about credit and credit cards like they're bad, but building your credit is critical. You go to sign a lease or get a car, they're going to want to see that you have credit. So get a credit card and use it like twice a month and then pay it off. When you get an apartment, when you graduate, get a bill in your name. If you have roommates, like each of you, get a bill in your name, and then just, again, make sure you pay it every month. And that's going to be one of the best tools that you can build is your own credit. But again, keep an eye on the interest rate and try very hard to pay it off every month, because those are really hard to get out from under if you don't.
I have another question for you, Emily. I will say 4 years into my career, because you're not counting 2020. And I feel stuck at where I'm at in my career, and I definitely haven't negotiated as I should have. I'm just wondering how you have been able to, in your career, make sure that you're not leaving money you're not leaving money at the table, you're not being lowballed. And I think, especially at this point, in like with the current economy, it feels like I am having layoff anxiety. I'm doing well at my company, but there's just so much turbulence, and then also being in tech, there's a lot of turbulence. Um, how do you? So now I feel like, oh, I don't have as much. I can't ask for more because, it's a tough time, and I can't look for like a new job because the market, like the job market, is in at its best place. How have you navigated your career journey, and especially during like maybe difficult market seasons?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can speak to financial services that like Schwab is one, but there are a couple others who will do these salary surveys. And so you can actually go online and say, okay, well, in this area, for this role, for this amount of experience, what is kind of the salary range? And it will be a range. But you can see, hey, if you're squarely in the middle of the range, but you feel like your raises have been maybe a little anemic, at your next review, that could be something to bring up about, they're offering you 3, like maybe come back with a slightly higher number, or if there's a bonus and there's some piece of it that maybe you don't understand, make sure you have a very clear understanding of, oh, this is a discretionary bonus. Well, what's the formula behind it? Because it's not discretionary. They're not back there with a dartboard, making something up. You want to understand, like, what do I need to do better next time? But there is publicly available information, so you can at least get a sense of, like, am I in the range of what's appropriate? The layoff anxiety is definitely real. There's industries like marketing and tech where I think that's more common. And I guess what I would say to that is never stop networking, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's great to know a lot of people in your industry. And so if there is, a dinner, or you're in a professional society and they have, like continuing education or a happy hour, go to those things and meet people and make meaningful relationships, because that will be helpful if you need to use them down the road. It's also helpful when you are employed. I'm in a couple, like I'm in a women's leadership group at Fidelity, and I reach out to those women all the time. Like, hey, I'm stuck. Like, I don't want to talk to someone in my office. I want to talk to someone else who maybe has a different perspective. And we've all helped each other with that. And we've helped each other too with, there was one firm who they were going to have to let a couple people go, and we ended up taking one. And so it's just, I think there is a larger community out there, but educate yourself, understand what the going rate is. Don't be afraid to push back a little. I'm always really scared to say things like ask your colleagues what they make, because I don't think you're supposed to do that. And I don't work in HR, so maybe use the internet more, but I don't know. Maybe we can ask Mical for an answer to that one.
I ask my colleagues what they make, so that's how I know I'm not being paid well. Yeah, now I know. Yeah, and I'm trying to, again, just navigate this tech industry right now and seeing what I can get, what I have. But I think definitely being bolder, and thank you for that suggestion about like looking at what the market rate is, seeing if you're being like lowballed.
I have one more question for you both. I think that sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming when there's so much, and it's just like where to start. Where would you recommend, like kind of the first thing that women look into to start building their wealth?
I would say my blog if I was actively writing in it, but it's gonna be active after tonight. Um, I think there's a lot of resources online. That's how I learned. Again, I use a lot of, there are a lot of personal finance books. I think the last one that I read was The Psychology of Money, and it just talks about, it was really nicely formatted, very short stories, and it wasn't like a dense finance book. I've learned some basics, like having a Roth IRA, investing in index funds, what Mical said about like buying and holding for the long term. There's some foundational things that are true across the like personal finance space, and just trying to implement that, like making sure you're not leaving money on the table with your 401k match. I think the thing that I struggle with is budgeting. So that's, I can't give you any advice on that. But there's a lot of resources. It's like budgeting out loud. I've seen people who cash stuff, and I tried that. I wasn't consistent with that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of resources, and yeah, leveraging your community, talking to your friends. I don't talk to my friends that much about money, or maybe we're not as open. Maybe because we're like just starting out and figuring things out. But yeah, just being open and being open to learn from whether it's the internet or people around you.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you start in the workforce, the 401k is the biggest thing. If you're going to get a 3% match, put 3% away, like at least put 3% away. And then as you get raises, try to not spend them. So, okay, now this year you're making 4% more. Well, add, 2% of that to your 401k, and then have the rest of it go automatically to your savings every month. Another like funny one is if you get paid every other week, I think there's 2 months a year where you actually get paid 3 times instead of 2 times. So take your like mythical paycheck that third time and just save it. Bonuses are another thing. If you get a bonus every year, I mean, like, yes, go buy one thing, but then try to save the rest. Or maybe you have a car payment and you get your bonus and you say, hey, I want to pay some of this down, or this is going into my house fund or my whatever fund it is. But try to get used to living on that really like bare bones piece of your salary, so that the rest you can use to really get ahead. 401ks now, typically when you sign up, they will put you in some sort of target date fund, so you won't sit in cash, because like Mical said, that was a huge thing where it used to be you'd sign up for a 401k and then your money would just sit in cash, which is nuts. And if you're just starting a job, I would also encourage you to look at a Roth 401k instead of a traditional. And also use the resources that are out there. Like there is a benefits department where you go work probably. Make an appointment, ask them questions like, what does this mean? Shannon was saying the health insurance is very confusing. It's all very confusing. So raise your hand and ask for help. Like we're all not supposed to know everything.
I guess we can end the panel here. I'm hoping that we've encouraged you to have open discussions about money, and I hope you've gained something new. I've gained that like extra paycheck. I'll look that out for and see if that was a good point. Thank you.